The river that fed the Longships, abundance comes through alignment, not force. The fjord was quiet that morning, quieter than it had been in weeks. Einar stood at the edge of the water, boots half buried in frost, watching the mist rise and thin as the sun climbed. The Longships behind him were empty, no cargo, no silver, no grain. It made no sense. The village had worked harder this season than any before it. Nets were cast before dawn and hauled long after dark. Hunters crossed ridges their fathers had never dared to climb. Raiding parties left early and returned late. Hands blistered, backs bent, faces tight with effort. And still, the storehouses echoed when opened. The harder they pushed, the less seemed to come back with them. Einar clenched his jaw. He had been raised on stories of iron will and relentless effort, of men who bent the world to them through strength and endurance. To him, survival had always meant reaching farther, striking faster, holding on longer than anyone else. So why did it feel as though the sea itself had turned away? Behind him, old Runa approached without sound, her staff pressing lightly into the frost. She had not sailed in years, yet the village listened when she spoke, because somehow she was always calm when others were not. "You're fighting the water," she said quietly. Einar did not turn. "We are doing what must be done," Runa smiled, though he could not see it. "That is the trouble." He let out a short breath. "You think sitting still fills ships?" "No," she replied, "but forcing empties them." That made him turn. "The gods reward action." "They reward harmony," she said. "Action follows alignment, not the other way around." The words struck him like cold water. He wanted to argue, to dismiss them as the comfort of age. But something in her voice held no fear, no urgency. It was steady, like the tide itself. That night, the longhouse crackled with fire and unease. Men spoke in low voices about dwindling stores and coming winter. Einar listened, offered plans, strategies, new routes, new efforts. Yet when he lay down to sleep, his mind refused to rest. Thoughts chased each other in tight circles. What else could be done? What more could be taken? What had been missed? Beneath it all was a pressure in his chest, a feeling of being hunted by lack itself. Just before dawn, he rose and stepped outside. The stars still burned above the fjord, vast and indifferent. For the first time, he wondered if the fight itself was the problem. The next morning, Runa led him inland, away from ships and voices and plans. They climbed until the village fell away beneath them, replaced by stone, pine, and silence. "Sit," she said, pointing to a flat rock overlooking the valley. "We don't have time for—" "Sit," she repeated, not unkindly. Reluctantly, he did. The cold crept through his cloak as Runa settled beside him. For a long while, neither spoke. Wind moved through the trees with no concern for hunger or winter. "What do you feel?" she asked at last. "Hunger," Einar said. "Urgency. Look deeper." He closed his eyes. Beneath the hunger was tension. Beneath the tension was fear. Fear of failing his people. fear that no matter how much he did, it would never be enough. "This," Runa said softly, "is what keeps abundance away." Einar frowned. "Fear makes us work harder." "It makes you reach," she replied, "and reaching tells life that you do not trust it." She spoke then of an older knowing, one that existed before raids and rivalries hardened men's hearts. She spoke of life as a generous river, always flowing, always offering, yet impossible to receive from clenched fists. "When you strain," she said, "you declare there is not enough. And the world, faithful as it is, agrees." Einar opened his eyes to the valley below. Nothing there was rushing. Nothing was forcing itself to grow. And yet everything flourished in its own season. He did not fully understand, but something within him loosened. In the days that followed, Einar did something that unsettled everyone. He slowed down. He shortened the hunts. He delayed a raid. He told the fishermen to return when they felt complete, not exhausted. He asked the people to notice how they felt before acting, not just what they feared might happen if they didn't. Murmurs spread through the village. Weakness, some said. Madness, others whispered. A few accused him of abandoning the old ways. Einar felt the pull to explain, to justify, to force understanding. Instead, he breathed and waited. Something curious began to happen. The nets came back heavier, though they were cast fewer times. A trader arrived unexpectedly from the south, eager to exchange grain for iron. A storm that should have shattered the harbour broke apart just offshore. More surprising still was what happened inside Einar himself. His chest felt lighter. Decisions arrived without struggle. Ideas appeared whole, unforced, as though placed gently in his mind. He began to sense when action was aligned and when it was driven by fear. When he acted from calm confidence, outcomes flowed easily. When he acted from urgency, obstacles appeared. One evening, he stood again at the edge of the fjord, watching the tide roll in. It did not hurry. It did not question whether the shore deserved it. It simply arrived, full and certain. In that moment, Einar understood. Abundance was not something to be earned through strain. It was something to be allowed through trust. Doing had its place, but feeling aligned came first. Receiving followed naturally. That night, he spoke to the village, not with commands, but with conviction born of experience. He told them they were not beggars clawing at life, but partners within it. That fear had taught them to push, but trust would teach them to receive. "We are not here to wrestle the world," he said. "We are here to move with it." The season turned. The storehouses filled steadily without drama. The Longships sailed not desperate, but confident, guided by inner knowing rather than force. Effort remained, but struggle faded. And Einar learned that the greatest productivity was vibrational, not physical. When the heart was aligned, action became efficient, joyful, and fruitful. The river had always been flowing. They had only needed to open their hands.